do the little countdown thing. I got to double record because I know it'll fuck up otherwise.
Yeah.
All right, we should be good to go. All right, here we are again.
Day 2.
So day 2, yeah, the 2-day podcast is back in action. For those who don't know, this is going to be the second time we've had this conversation because the internet is fucking out to get me at any chance it possibly can. So I'm sitting down here with the powerful Dan Bell, and now I got to ask, what kind of Copenhagen did you just put in there?
Oh, no, that's Skull Straight, baby.
Okay. All right. Just checking. The last time I put a lip in, man, because I played baseball in high school and college, and that was just fucking part of it. You know, it's like you're on the field and you're just packing a lip. I tried one a couple. Dude, I tried a couple of years ago. I thought I was on a fucking roller coaster. I thought I was going to die. I was like, how did I do this shit all the time? It was incredible.
Yeah.
So you just competed, right? Just a couple weeks ago.
Yes,
how did that go for you?
Yeah, it was a good day. 24:47, 10:03 squat, 584 bench, and 860 deadlift. It kind of damn, but it actually really pissed me off. It lit a good fire in me to where I was supposed to do my next meet in wraps, and now I'm going to be doing it in sleeves just because it made me so mad.
Now it's there. We kind of mentioned this before, but I want to bring it up again. Is that level of rage, like that is an absolute powerhouse for you, right? You use that as a motivator. I know there are some people that don't. There are some people that are more calm, but you have to use that. Is that true?
Oh, 1,000%, 1,000%. I always try to give myself little reminders and stuff like that. Well, it's funny because I'm sitting here at my desk, and here's a flag from Slovakia where Peter Petras is from.
Yep.
I had to do that when he took my world record total. When he took my world record total, I put that up, and then here's a picture of me and Andre. So
there you go.
It was just those subtle reminders, that fuel you to keep going. Yeah, you gotta have them.
Yeah, and I can't imagine how much fuel that you need to be able to just put 1,000 pounds on your back. I don't think people understand. Like, I jumped into multiply and had like 800 on my back. I've had like just heavier weights than I've ever had. But at the same time, it's like, you have to go to this separate place. It's like this weight could fuck you up bad.
Oh, big time. Yeah, big time.
and I think it's one of those things that I think that people get drawn to you about, because on the outside, like, you're this very calm, fun, fucking party guy. Really, like, you're a good time. You will help anybody that you meet. But there's that switch, and I want to get into that. I want to get into what makes that switch happen for you. Whether it's past memories or just your performance. I really want to dig into what makes it possible for you to get under a fucking 1,000 pounds multiple times over and over.
64. I've squatted 1,000 pounds 64 times.
Unreal. Fucking unreal.
It was so funny because there was a meet here at Perfect Storm not too long ago, and somebody actually asked me, they're like, you know how many times you squatted 1,000 pounds? And I was just like, instantly 61, and I was just like, they're like, holy shit. It was funny. But yeah, actually, it's like, I don't know, my wife might not really approve, but one of the fine factors why I got into powerlifting is because the girls. I mean, I was 27 years old, juiced to the gills, and now you just those little singlet chasers, what I like to call them back in the day. I was about it. And I mean, it did lead me to my wife, so she can't complain too much. But so like every time I had like a moment in my life where like something bad happened, a breakup, a family member passed away, something along those lines. Mm-hmm. It would just seem like my next cycle, I had that rage enough to put up a great PR or put another 1,000 pounds on my back, little stuff like that. But then again, on the flip side of it, since I've been married and since I've lived in Florida with my wife, my career just kind of skyrocketed because I didn't have to have that. I had a good normalcy about my life, a good balance between the rage in the gym and the calmness I need to do my job. So there is a flip side to it. You just got to find it where you can get it. But the rage still comes and goes. And I feel like I've been able to harness the switch a little bit better because, like we kind of said yesterday with Danny Tinero, he's like, get mad, but control what you're doing. You take a deep breath. Yeah, take a deep breath. Get pissed, but make sure you execute the lift right. And that's something that you got to do too.
Yeah, and it's one of those things too. Is you are always, your technique, especially in the squat, is so locked in and dialed in, and I don't think people give that enough credit, because that makes such a tremendous amount of difference in your execution, because now you can use that anger and that rage and you can really put it where it needs to be, as opposed to like this wide brush stroke of just being angry and wild and just fucking just all over the place, right? Because again, with 1,000 pounds on your back, something bad goes wrong, like that's fucking big deal.
Oh yeah, big time. Yeah, and then, the spotters get hurt. I get hurt. There's a lot of responsibility when it comes to moving around with that much weight. It's kind of one of the reasons I haven't been such a fan of the walkout. I know a lot of the older school guys are like, oh, walkouts, hey, that's how you need to squat. There's a lot of guys that go back and forth on it too. I mean, including the USPA. But if I'm trying to move this much weight, the last thing I want to do is give it another factor of something to go wrong. So if I can squat out of a mono and put more weight on the bar with a mono, use a mono. It's just like reps. We kind of talked about that yesterday too. Like, I love reps. I love reps because to me, powerlifting is about the most weight on the bar. So if I can use these reps to put another 100 pounds on the bar, I'm going to use the hell out of them, man. And that I've really feel like over the last couple of years, I've kind of like fine-tuned the way I use reps. And of course, there's different types out there for everybody. But yeah, you just that's what powerlifting is. Just getting those techniques down. For me, the kind of like what I said yesterday too. With a squat, it's second nature to me now. Like it may take me a week or 2 weeks to find my groove, but when I do, I don't have to worry about losing it whatsoever. Like when it comes to frequency, when it comes to anything like that or along those lines. With the smaller lifters, they do need the more frequency to keep the groove, but for me, it's just second nature.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things you brought up a good point is the wraps, right? Because who right now, if you have a big squat in a line, who's wrapping your knees?
Depends on location, really. But if I have to choose, Danny, Seth, or John Jursic. Tom Callis is a good third or fourth. Tom's always a guy that I can depend on. If I'm going somewhere or something like that. He's a cop out of Chicago, so he flew down from Miami the meet last year. Seth's always a guy you can count on, but he was competing in Miami last year. Seth got me for my 11-13. He's so precise with the wrap and where it goes and what it does and how it works. That's how I've been able to fine tune it. Now, when it comes to Danny, there's been a lot of times where I put 1,000 pounds on the bar and I'm like, hey, Danny, you mind? And he's like, he comes over and wraps me. And then I'm like, hey, give me 40 more kilos because this wrap's too good.
Right.
Yeah, he knows how to crank them on.
Yeah, I mean, we had Seth out at Elite FTS, and he did a video on wrapping knees. And just for shits, I was like, all right, Seth, what we're going to have you do is we have our data guy. So it was like our resident nerd. I go, wrap him like you would wrap Dan. I thought he was going to fucking break his leg. It was incredible. And then this guy was just twitching out. Shout out to Alex. He took it like a champ. But he was squirming. And that's something that a lot of people that don't compete with wraps don't realize. And for me personally, when I got into multiply lifting, like the wraps are honestly the easiest part of the process because everything else was so fucking constrictive and terrible. I'm like, oh, you have to wrap my knees too? That's the only part of me that's exposed. So might as well. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But how do you incorporate the wraps into your training? Like, when do you start putting them on more? What sort of a frequency do you have with them?
Well, if I'm dedicated to to wrapping for the meet, then I'll do it the whole 12 weeks. And not to mention, like, it really takes like my knees and the skin around my knees to get used to it, like a good 3 to 4 weeks, especially when they get really cracked.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll do it myself, get them on there pretty loose, like around 800, just to feel it, get my wrap grip, because I am just a tad wider when I go in wraps, because I don't have to rely on the spread as much, because I get to use the wraps.
Right.
So
right.
when I'm in sleeves, I'm a little bit tighter, because I try to bounce off my calves a lot more. Yeah.
Now, do you have different style of wraps as well? Or you just keep the same ones?
Yeah, I keep the same ones. They're really like a cast bouncy type. And another thing that I do is I get a brand new set for the meet. So I'll even warm up in my old ones. Then I'll take my first, second, third, and those brand new pair. But then the next cycle, I use those pair for the entire training cycle. So I got a nice little shelf in my garage. It's got a couple. I got the 11, 13 ones. I wrote on them, hung them up in the trophy case and stuff like that. There's quite a few pairs that 25, 18, my first 1,000, like stuff like that. I keep those, but yeah, I get a good use out of them. It's more. Which wraps did you use?
At Elite, we just had whatever we had lying around. I don't really. And honestly, like I think we were using the crate wraps over my last meet that we used.
The crate ones are good.
Yeah.
The crate ones are real similar to the ones I used, but mine's from Pioneer, Tom Callis. They've collabed on
for sure.
A good knee wrap. So
yeah. I have my Pioneer belt, so I fucking love those guys.
Yeah, Matt's a great guy. The things that he's done for this industry and for powerlifting alone, like, I cannot praise him enough. You know, and I've always been kind of, I don't want to say sponsored by them, but I've always supported him. I've always backed him. He's been such a great, solid dude for the community and for myself. So I can't say anything bad about him for sure.
Yeah, and it's funny. There's always been a war waged between Multiply and fucking Raw guys and all that shit. But have you seen those Inzer sleeves? Those new Inzer sleeves? That are
I ordered them about 4 weeks ago, and I still haven't got them. You know?
the Phantom sleeves. So you haven't had a chance to actually train in those yet, have you?
No. There's a couple guys in my gym that have them, and Miana's got them too. So I've been around them. I've seen them. I see the way they're constructed. I mean, there is a reason they're $140 or however much they were, but it's a solid product. Obviously, Inzer put a lot of time and effort into getting those down right. You know, there was a bunch of confusion in the beginning, but I think it was just a lot of Iron Rebels guys chirping, trying to stir some shit. But it all leveled out now. But yeah, no, I think they're a good product. Matt, actually from Pioneer, he's the one that I got his prototype sleeves that I squatted in for my last meet. These, you know, typical prototype. I mean, it's a solid product. He gave me the first pair, and we went over a few different changes that made it better. But he's still, you know, kind of working through the bumps, how it goes with design and something like that. So yeah, they're good. I mean, I squatted 1,000 in them, so I mean that says something right there. But I really do want to try the Inzers, and Matt's cool about it too. Matt's like, hey, whatever gets you the most weight on the bar, dude. You don't have to do that.
That's fucking rare, man. That's fucking rare.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, no, it's cool to see, and it's cool to see the sort of progression in like the sleeves and whatnot. But I brought them. We have a few pairs at Elite that we were kind of just looking at. I'm like, these fucking things are thicker than my briefs. Yeah. I'm like, holy shit, man! They're fucking standing up on their own.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny because last Sunday I wore my SBDs, and Seth was like, "Hey, man, you should probably try these out." And I went over and felt them. They're the Elite FTS sleeves, and he's like, "They're even USPA approved." And I'm like, "Damn, all right, you know, it's just another tool to have in the shed. You know, why not? Just at least spread it out and see what let you put the most weight on the bar. That's powerlifting."
Fucking hey, man. So what does the rest of your training look like? Obviously, we talked about your squat a little bit yesterday, if you want to go into that, about how you kind of program it and how you progress it. But I'm really interested in how the whole program kind of looks and how you kind of maneuver everything, because we're not talking about you being a fucking 500-pound squatter that can squat 3 times a week and pull twice a week and bench fucking 7 times. Whatever the fuck they're doing now. Like when you're hitting the weights that you're hitting, like the recovery time is as important as the training time.
And then some. Yeah, it's funny that you said that because I'm kind of looking around here. A lot of times this is where I sit and write everything out, try to get everything. And I think the notepad's actually in my work truck. But so squat and dead every other week. They always alternate. Then my bench, because how much low bar taxes my shoulders, I actually put my close grip on my squat week. So, and then I put my comp bench on my deadlift week. So I've had a lot of help with that through Ed Cohn, and of course talking to Eric and a lot of other lifters, just because the low bar does tear at my shoulders and my elbows quite a bit. I've got to the point now to where it's like I almost need 60 milligrams of Toradol to get through a meet, just because my elbows get so damn inflamed, and there's nothing you can do about it. I've thought about going and cut my left arm off multiple times because it hurts so damn bad.
I saw that. I saw your post where you were just fucking taking bids on who has to cut your arm off.
Oh yeah. But yeah, that comes with the territory, and of course, I'm sure there's smarter ways I can kind of deal with it. But it's just like, hey, I'm gonna roll with it. Not trying to fix something that's not broke. It just hurts, and I can deal with the pain and move on.
Yeah, and that's I think that's a good segue into the recovery of things, right? Like, what do you do when you're outside the gym to make sure that you're ready to train? Because having a bad day when you squat 600 is one thing, but having a bad day when it's like, all right, I have to hit fucking 1003 today or some shit, you know what I mean? Like, that's a different animal.
No, 100%. And I've had those days. We've all had those days. One of the biggest things that I've tried to carry through with my prior training and with I try to tell other people too, Seth and everybody that we train with, just leave on a good note. Like if something does go wrong, like go hit a leg press PR or go demolish your freaking quads with the leg extension until you can't walk anymore. Just leave on a good, satisfied note, because we've all had bad days, but you can just turn it around real quick right there and go have fun with it with doing something else. That's kind of one of the things that I try to lead on. That way, if you walk out with that mentality of like, hey, I'm accomplished, then it carries on to, whatever you're trying to do that week, whether it be work, whether it be training, work, like anything like that. But yeah, as far as like proper recovery, man, I am a sleeping mofo. Like I will stay in bed for 10 hours a day if I feel like I'm pretty damn taxed. And even Sunday I had that pretty big squat for me, and I was surprised. Monday, I felt great. I was like, I woke up and I just moved. I do have a good prehab and rehab routine. Jacob Ross, he writes that out for me. Him and Tom Callis kind of collab on that. But they know that I like to stay with my training style and my peaking program. It works really good for me, and I'm not trying to fix anything that's not broken. So, yeah, I think that helps a ton.
Yeah, and that mentality, you see it. Like you had mentioned Ed Cohn before. We had chatted yesterday kind of about how amazing he is as not only a lifter himself, but also as a human being, to be able to help walk into any gym anywhere and just be willing to help anybody that he sees, anybody that asks. And I get that same sort of vibe from you as well, because he was the first person I did on this podcast. I had him on here, and he's a fucking gem, man. He really is one of my favorite human beings, and I'm pumped I get to see him here in Ohio here in just a couple weeks. But you kind of exude that same sort of mentality of like just simple work done well over the course of time just builds your progress, right?
No, of course. And it's funny, I don't say funny, but I've seen it so many times with guys, like even guys that don't switch their programs crazy fast. Like, we've all seen the newbies that, doing the cube this week and then doing the next week. It didn't work for me, so I'm doing something else. Like, that's never going to work. Consistency is always going to win. I don't care if you're jumping rope or if you're, powerlifting. Consistency is always going to win. But those guys that have done something for so long and then like, hey, this isn't working. I need to try something new. So they give it a good run, a good 6 to 8 weeks run. They're not seeing the progress, or it's just not working for them mentally, or then maybe their body's not ready for it. They go right back to where they started. And they go back to right what they used to do because that's their comfort zone. So it does make sense. And I know everybody's like, got that analogy. You got to be uncomfortable to adapt and survive. You know, that's fine. I get it. But if something works, why are you changing it? You know, like, especially if you're comfortable with it. Yeah, especially if you're comfortable.
And I'm sure you've gotten the question, and I've gotten it a few times through DMs or whatever. People saying, "Hey, I just put 50 pounds on my total running this program, and what do I do next?" It's like, okay, how about you keep doing the fucking thing you're doing, right? Like what the fuck? Pretty good, right? But I appreciate your insight into your training, because not only have you been doing this for a while, but you're also able to kind of auto-regulate and understand where the ebbs and flows have to come from. And you trust yourself, right? You've done the thing already, right? But I think a lot of younger lifters think that there is a super secret Soviet program to do this, that, and the other thing, when it's like you eat well, you sleep well, you train hard, and you kind of get the feedback. I think from what I've seen so far and what I've seen with your training and the people I've talked to about you, is like, you're a big feedback guy. It's like, if this is working, just keep doing the thing. If it's not working, then we adjust.
Yeah. And that, I kind of blame that on my father. He instilled keep it simple, stupid in me. But I still say the two best things that he ever, I don't say left with me because he's still alive, but the two things that he instilled in me at a younger age was know when to shut your mouth and keep it simple if it's working. Just those two things have stuck with me through this 35 years, and they've been so great to a lot of different avenues in my life. So yeah, if you keep it simple and keep it working, just keep doing it. And then when it doesn't work, I'm at that point now where I'm not begging for a 50-pound PR. I'm begging for a 10-pound PR. I'm going through a whole 12-week cycle just to get a 5-pound PR. Or you can even look at my bench. I was at 600 2 years ago, a year ago with the current and whatever, and now it's got to be a good day for me to get 584. So just those come in waves. I'm sure give me another 2 cycles, I'll be right back at 600, maybe chipping away at a PR. But it just comes with that territory. You got to take the good and just keep on rolling.
And I'm sure that we had mentioned this before as well. Is your training crew down in your area, you have so many amazing athletes in their own right, but alone also being training partners with their insight must be tremendously valuable for you on a daily basis.
Oh yeah, I wish I had $1 for every time Seth be deadlifting and I'd be squatting, and I'm just like, hey, can I pick your brain for a minute? And we'll chat for 2 seconds. I get his insight. He tells me what he saw. Or it's the same way with Danny. Danny's like, hey, you didn't look like you were in the groove there. Maybe, go fix your tight hip and we can keep on grooving, bro. And it's just those little things and those insight and those guys' experience and eyes have kept me in check over the years, and along with myself, the auto-regulating and the knowing the stimulus that I need, and then wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. I got life to attend to. Stuff like that.
Right. Absolutely. And now, have you, when you first started training, when you first started wanting to do powerlifting, or you kind of threw yourself into this whole thing, were you training by yourself, or were you training with a crew?
It's funny. I had 2 training partners, Riley and Shane. Riley's still 198er. He's got a lot of life going on. He's a father now. Congratulations. He's doing a lot of good things for outside of powerlifting, but he kind of was my ride or die for the first 2 or 3 years, and we did some incredibly stupid shit in the gym. It was wild. We would max out every other day. I even had a freaking shoulder day. I got a shoulder pump in almost 3 years now, but we had it was ridiculous, and we would just go put the bands on the squat rack and see how much we could overload it and not die. It was pretty outrageous. But that's kind of where we started. And of course, training partners come and go, and we had different eyes or views on life and whatever. And I, of course, I feel like I've never actually put powerlifting on a back burner, but I've done it once or twice where I took 6-8 months off and kind of do my own thing. Yeah, we started out together. Then I kind of after that kind of went up to Dubuque, Iowa. I was working out of Earn Not Given Barbell there. We had a garage gym. It was great. I had a old school Titan rack. It was rated 700 pounds. I squatted a grand in that, and everybody in the basement about shit their pants. It was hilarious. But yeah, through the years after that, I went back to Illinois and started training with my buddy Cheeks. He tagged along with Shane and Riley and I quite a bit, and he actually has been the one that stuck with me the longest. He's still one of my best friends. The guy's a great guy, but he trains by himself now in Illinois. I feel bad for him, but it's hard to find those like-minded powerlifters that just want everybody to be better. He kind of carries on the same message that I do, help everybody out. And, if they want to powerlift, let's powerlift. If they don't, okay, have fun doing what you're doing, And I'm all for that. There's plenty of guys in our gym that don't powerlift. They just train to train and, feel young again, I guess you could say. But we got professional bodybuilders in there too, and that's nice to see every once in a while too. It's like, damn, if I wasn't eating these 5 double cheeseburgers, I'd be looking like that guy.
That's yeah. I mean, and to be. I mean, having spent my last year and a half in the elite FTS kind of the facility there, I saw some freaks, right? Like when you see a freak and what they're doing is like, what the fuck? Like you're different, right? Especially bodybuilders. I'm like, I don't even know what that fucking part is. Like, what the hell is that?
I got a muscle there.
I was like, mine's a little squishier than yours. It looks like. So how do you currently work for your like nutrition and whatnot? Like, what are you following for that?
Well, currently I kind of go by feel. This morning I was 375. It's the lightest I've been in almost 2 years.
Fucking stage ready, Dan. Stage ready.
Just a shave away. Yeah. That's funny. But no, it's just my feel, and I know like my strength will come back, and like I said yesterday or whatever. Usually about 3-4 weeks out, when everything gets bumped up a little bit, trying to get ready for the platform, I'll throw an extra 15-20 pounds on, just like that. And it comes with territory. A lot of times it will mess up my leverages, but just got to be strong enough to work through that. And I noticed that the last couple of times I've got to 400 pounds, my leverages have been off a little bit than they were for training, but it just comes with the territory and how you got to fine tune those little things. Now, right now I'm at like 3 meals that are consistently higher protein, less fat, and then the other 2 meals through the day are just, hey, eat, dude. You got to get something. And it's not garbage. I'm like-minded. Like, last night I had a chicken quesadilla and like a couple things of popcorn. It's just like I'm not overly splurging and shoving my face full. Everybody flips out. They're like, man, you don't eat 8,000 calories a day? I was like, no, I'm maybe around 4,000, but I'm also drinking 2 gallons of water and sweating my dick off all day at work too.
Yeah, right.
It's kind of the way it goes. That just comes with the territory. So
now, is 400 pounds like where you want to be? Have you tried a little bit more? Have you tried a little bit less, or is that just kind of the sweet spot that you feel?
December last year, I was 432. And I was disgusted. Like I would say disgusted, but I was like almost depressed about it. I'm like, okay, not moving around so great for work. Not the training, like I want to go, but I'm just sluggish. And, life in the bedroom wasn't the best either. At the time, I would say it was bad, but I mean, I'm out of breath on the bottom the whole time. Like, come on. She can't be having fun with this. So, yeah. Under 400, I'm pretty happy with myself. Even at 400 is not horrible. It's just your body's got to accommodate for it. Now at 375, I feel like I'm 18 again. Working 60, 70 hours a week, jumping in the pool every night after I get home, and just like having fun with it. And, when everything else gets to be better like that around you, training gets better, everything gets better. So it's where you want to feel comfortable and what you want to do with. It's just how you get through your daily life. Now, I'm not completely dedicated to powerlifting. If that was the case, I would probably be like 355 and trying to train every day. So just how you auto-regulate that.
Yeah. Now, when you get closer to a meet, now you're competing in September, right?
Yep.
So what we're going to be, so as you get up closer to that meet, is there a time where you start locking in so much that you no longer maybe go out to dinner as much, or just kind of like really just focus in on your training? Or do you kind of live your life the way that you do as you kind of progress from meet to meet?
So I've done both sides of it to where like I'll like no sex, no drinking, like 3 weeks out. But
You know, like the
then
old
when
Rocky motto is like women make your legs
yeah,
weak, right?
yeah, exactly, and that's I do not believe in that. Nor am a fan. No, no, I'm
No.
trying to. Yeah, I'm trying to bust off 20 minutes before the meet starts. Like, no, do not believe in that. But I've done both. But it feels like when I do put myself in that box, then when the meat does come around and it's over, I explode. So
Yeah.
yeah, and that's not good on me, not good on her, not good on anything in gym, like especially my wallet, stuff like that. But like, if I just gradually, ease into it, where I hone down, take 2 weeks out, like, okay, hey, I'm not gonna drink. I don't have to drink to have a good time. Like, I'll
Mhm.
just, go out. We'll go out to dinner. I'll pay attention. And like I said yesterday, that I'll take a piece of grilled chicken over a steak any day of the week. That doesn't really bother me. I've just always been a chicken fan. So, as far as that goes, now I do eat a lot more when it comes down to like 2 weeks out because I'm constantly hungry, but I'm just burning everything. But training is getting a little bit more intense and heavy. So like I usually take my last heavy deadlifts 3 weeks out, and then I won't deadlift at all until the meet. And then
Mhm.
my last heavy squat is 2 weeks out, and my bench opener is 10 days out. But the night before the meet, I'll go squat 500-600 pounds just to really grease my groove. And 9 times out of 10, you got to fly, you got to drive, you got to
Right,
do
right.
something. Yeah, bind yourself up, especially my hips. I drive probably 1,000 miles a week for work, so my hips are something I'm constantly focused on keeping loose and keeping flexible. My adductors have always been crazy tight, but I think that really works for me more than it
Mhm.
hurts me. So yeah, those are something you got to do. But yeah, when I get in the zone for that, I'm pretty in the zone, but I also like to have fun because that's what it's all about.
And you had mentioned your hips, and just watching your squat is you move tremendously well for being such a large human, right? Like you see smaller guys than you really squatting and looking like, oh shit, like that looks like a struggle. Like you had
Yeah.
said, it's just you are so smooth and consistent with your form from every rep, every set, and it just fucking shows, man. Like, and that's something that is, you had mentioned yesterday that you're now starting to take clients, you're starting to coach. It's like, how do you take your experience as a world class lifter and kind of parlay that into helping maybe newer power lifters? Because you see that a lot, right? Is like people do a thing really well. And I've seen it firsthand. Is I've seen some people that are really strong and really smart, but they can't educate, they can't teach, they can't carry that over. But you do a really good job of it.
Yeah, that's been a learning curve I put on myself the last couple 2-3 months since I started really coaching. I don't say full time, but coaching
Mm.
consistently. And it's funny because one of my best friends, Brittany Dimmer, she works out at ENG in Dubuque. She was having a real hard time with her deadlift, actually sitting down and getting her quads to engage first. I put her in a chair for 2 weeks. I'm like, make your ass touch and then stand up. Like
Hmm.
she went from 402 to like 474, and it's just those little keys. Now I just did that to Joe Jordan about 2 or 3 months ago. He's always had a little issue with his
Hmm.
deadlift, and I'm like, Joe, you got to get those quads in there first. So he's on wagon wheels, so it didn't really help much. But I'm like, hey, put this chair behind you, make your ass touch and stand up. And after he got done with the wagon wheels, went to a straight bar. I was like, do it again, keep doing it because your body's going to conform, and it'll be after, I can't remember, I've looked it up before, but I think it's like 1,200 continuous reps at that weight. Your body actually gets used to forming that way and going with
Hmm.
that bar path. So once you make that consistency hit and your body remembers, it's just like second nature, to where I've been able to it's funny, I've been actually fucked up so many times. I've had to find, yeah, I've had to
Yeah.
find, yeah, I've had to find out how to make this work or how to make this better, to where that's carried over pretty well for me. But then again, training around Deanna, Seth, Joe, Danny, all of them at Perfect Storm, you hear these cues, and Trevor Jaffe and I've actually talked about the verbiage for different people. Like, you can say the same thing, but use a different word, and it clicks for somebody. But if you use the word that you used before, it doesn't click. It's just like, I'm saying the same thing, just use a different word. So, yeah, the verbiage, too, has been kind of a big thing. And I've kind of gone with that with my newer clients, to me, like, hey, I need you to tighten your back up, or hey, put your shoulder blades in your back pocket, like stuff like that. Stuff like that, where it's really helped.
And it's cool to see that, because I mean, obviously, if you're working with somebody remote, you can't do anything like in person or physical with them. But even just like if you're working with somebody in person, it's like, all right, I want you to tighten here, and like you poke them where you want them. They're like, oh fuck, like I didn't even know that was a thing, right? But that's a good point that you brought up, that like the verbiage matters and the words that you use matters, because I think coaching, as like you're walking into a situation with a toolbox, right? If you only have a hammer, dude, you're going to be looking for some fucking nails, and not every job requires a hammer, right? So it's cool for you to, I mean, you have such a tremendous group of coaches and athletes around you, and you are so open to knowledge. You're always learning, right? Of all people, like you really do embody what a lot of people should be looking for in an athlete, or also a coach, is like, you're constantly learning, you're constantly doing the shit yourself, and you want to make everybody better. And believe it or not, that's fucking rare, right? Like, that's a rare trait to have. And you had mentioned it in the powerlifting world, is I can't imagine the fucking egos that you have run into at your level of just fucking nut jobs.
It's actually like, it's almost comical now, because you see them coming in, and like you see them, and they're just raging and balls to the wall, and it's shooting from the rooftops. And 4 months later, they're back in their mom's garage, living their own life. They just come and go so easy, the egos. But the guys that want the best for everyone are usually the ones that stick around the longest. It's kind of crazy how you seem like, and they stay the most relevant, and they just keep their head down, keep learning, and just keep on doing what they're doing. It's just, you can't let the ego win, because it's never going to carry you on any farther than where you want it, where you can go. Yeah, that's 100%.
Yeah, and it's that level of, and I call it just like, it's someone's level of give a shit, right? It's like, you give a shit about the sport, and you give a shit about the people in it. That's it. Like, at the end of the day, it's like, all right, you're going to act in accordance to you giving a shit. So that's pretty much it, man.
100%, and I care about the history too. A lot of people don't recognize that. You're looking at the Don Reinholds, even, I don't want to say Ray, but Ray was a spectacular person. Eric Lillibridge, his run was phenomenal. Watching that kid from when he was 18 to when he was 26, and just he didn't throw in the towel. He's just enjoying life, because his entire life was nothing but powerlifting for 10 years. So I totally get that. Eric and I talked quite a bit, and like seeing that Andre had a 20-year run. Like,
unreal.
God, like, I wish my body would hold together for that long.
Fucking duct tape and bubble gum.
Exactly. But that helps me carry on a little bit more too. Yeah, for sure.
And you're right about the history, right? Like, I was lucky enough to train in fucking Doug Heath's basement last night, one of the original West Side guys. And it's like, I'm gonna be there every Tuesday until I move out of Ohio. Like, this is like, what the fuck? Like, even just sitting there listening to the stories of like Louis and like all the fucking old heads, and like just how they did things, and how it carries over, and how there's so many similarities to things today. And you're right, the history is super, super important. And it's just cool to see. And it's cool to see you kind of living and passing that along to people that you work with, the people that you get to train with. And I think it's just super, super cool and super important. One of the things I wanted to touch on with you is, I think there is a wild misconception, and correct me if I'm wrong, a wild misconception that the drug game is the fucking defining factor in terms of powerlifting, right? So I see you shaking your head, because the people that are not truly connected to higher level athletes or have conversations like this have no idea that aspect of things. They assume as soon as you stick a needle in your fucking ass, you're a superhero, right? So what's your fucking?
God, I wish. Oh, I wish.
Be real, man. You can fucking rent. You can vent as much as you want. This is all good.
All right. So just did that meet 3 weeks ago, and I was on 750 test and 300 trend. It's not a lot. I know bodybuilders that do that. Yeah, I do. I know bodybuilders that do that every other day. Mm-hmm. And I know powerlifters that'll blast a gram of trend. If I go over 300 trend, I don't sleep. I'm beating my dick like it owes me money. And like, it's just, that's not fun for me. If I'm not sleeping or if I'm doing something like that, I get no enjoyment out of life being like that. And I found out over the years. Like, don't get me wrong. My first 2 years, like I said earlier, the first 2 years of powerlifting, I was a walking science experiment. I'd take anything and everything I could. But over the years, learning, actually it's been since 2017, 2018 was when I really found out where my stride was actually peaking at, just because of the blood work that I was getting done. So it's like, hey, if I only take this much, I can still progress, and I can still not have to take that much more. Like it's so I was getting the meats, and I'm like a human pincushion. Like I was like, why do I have all this in me? I'm pissing out neon green for months. It's like, what am I doing to myself? And actually, last year was the first, 2021. We kind of had a little slowdown with COVID, but I still competing pretty hard. And after the Kern, I was like, hey, it's time to dry out. Yeah, I need some time off. And I went cold turkey. And my first round of blood work, we found out that my kidneys were not functioning right where they needed to be. And I was just doing anything and everything I can to fix that. I did dialysis once, and that's a motherfucker. I don't wish that on anybody. I don't know if you know Steve Gentili, the guy over there in Indy. Yeah, him and I, we got to talking a little bit back and forth because I knew he was going through all his nonsense. And he's like, man, it's caffeine, drugs, and orals are the big thing. And I still don't like taking orals just because their impact that they have on your body. Another thing too is like the quality of stuff. I've seen guys straight canola oil, and they were like, I don't know why I'm so pimply. Like, well, the bathtub that your buddy just made that in is horrible. Like, I don't want to go down that path, but it's just like, man, it's not good. So the more I do, I'm an advocate about keeping it honest with people. If they do ask me, I'm not making a video and putting it out on YouTube about it, but I'm just he come at me with a straight question. I'm going to give you a straight answer. I've always been like that just because I don't want other people doing the things I did or having to go through the shit that I had to go through. So when I did get back on, it would have been it would have been December last year, right before the Ghost was in February. When I did get back on, it was just like the least I can take and still progress, I'll be fine. And I know 750 and 300 are at max. That's where I want to be. I can be just as strong as the best in the world at that level and not feel miserable and not have to pin every other day. Like it's a pain. There's so much scar tissue build up from over the years, and there's so much nonchalant bullshit that I put in my body. It's like, this is what I need, and this works for me, and blood pressure is still great. My freaking blood work's still decent, but it's something with triglycerides are through the roof. But that comes with taking tests no matter what. A lot of people don't look at. Yeah, a lot of people don't look into that deep, and I tell as many people as I can, hey, less is more. Less is more.
And you had mentioned getting your blood work done. Is that something you've always done, or is that more of a recent kind of a strategy that you've been doing?
So like 2015 to 2019, it was like, if I was off, I would go get it done and see where my levels were at. So maybe twice a year. Now I'm like religiously quarterly. I'm getting it done like every 3-4 months, just to pay attention, just to see where I'm at. And I want to be that nosy person because I want to know actually how this is functioning and what is working for me. There's been my cardiologist right now. He was for the Jaguars. And he was the first guy that he retired from them and then came down to Ormond, just loves life down here. But hey, he was like, Dan, These guys are taking their blood pressure with a regular cuff. They need a thigh
no
cuff.
Shit.
Yeah, they need a thigh cuff. And he's like, if I really want to know exactly what your blood pressure was, I'd have to go down your throat and get right on top of your aorta and find out exactly where your blood pressure is. Because I don't trust that thing with a guy that's 400 pounds. That cuff was made on a guy for 120 pounds. Like, this is not realistic. He's like, I think you're fine. You work 60 hours a week. You have a gorgeous wife. You train 4 days a week. He's like, let's calm down. Let's talk to you and me, not this nurse practitioner, because she was bored and wanted to be in school for this long and being told that this is not humanly right. When I know you're an athlete, you're obviously you're very well conditioned. You work good. You can run half a mile. I'm like, yeah, cool, thank you. That's cool. Like, I was glad that I got that peace of mind from him, to where I could calm down. I didn't have to worry so much, and made my wife calm down too. Man, she is when it comes to anything that has to do with medical, she's on me like white on rice. So.
Well, I think it's very cool to see that you are taking your health seriously, regardless of performances. And even on the flip side, right? Like, if you see that your health markers are in line, you could potentially push the gas a little bit more, right? Like, that's also the other side of that too, right?
100%. Yeah, I've been there. And, like, we were talking yesterday about how much mental this game is, and a lot of people don't understand it. Where I see where guys were like, "Oh, I just missed this squat 4 weeks out. I need to take this." It's like, no, you need to sleep a little bit more, or you need to push a little bit more. Yeah, you push a little bit more carbs the night before you train. Like, let's do that instead of running to drugs first, because of the misconception of that. It's like it's not going to work overnight. A lot of people don't know the science behind how the testosterone actually works in your body, or how the trenbolone actually works in your body. Like, it doesn't happen that minute it goes in. Like, it's fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you see it quite a bit. Like, even if you were to go on to any sort of like powerlifting forum or group or whatever, you just see this horrendous trash can fire of information, and it's like people are just spouting out dosages and this and that, and it's like, yo, you have no fucking idea how your body's going to respond to anything.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even give nutrition advice to people, because I had an ex-girlfriend who was a dietitian, and she showed me an example of somebody that was allergic to steak. So how often do you hear people say, "Oh, just eat some fucking steak, eat some chicken, whatever"? Like, this dude got fucked up from eating steak. So from like seeing that, I was like, no, I'm not gonna. I'm just like, all right, just eat fucking protein. Like, I don't know, like, but it's amazing. But people will just forget that with like, this is the cycle I did that I think worked for me, whether or not their drugs were actually drugs. They weren't just a vial full of bullshit that they got from some foreign country, and that it actually was the drugs doing the things that they think happened, right? Like, they just don't ever take their training seriously enough, or they don't monitor things at a high enough level to see the cause and effect. They just like fucking fire hose that shit and just do everything in every direction. They're like, all right, I'm drinking a gram of caffeine a day. I'm taking fucking all the tests in the world. I'm taking Tren. I'm taking fucking D-ball too. And I'm taking all this shit. And it's like, how are you tracking any of this shit? And how are you a human being at any other time of the day?
That's funny. Okay. Another confession. It's kind of funny, but I got a black book. It's actually in my bathroom right next to where I keep all my drugs. Yep. And every time I do anything, I write it down in there. And so when and if the time does come, my wife knows, hey, my body's going to science, and here's everything he's taken the last 8 years. Please.
Awesome.
Yeah, please. Like, my mom actually talked to me about this, and like, I don't want to say she made me do it, but she just put the thought in my head to where this is another way that I can contribute to the future. Like, if these doctors are going to see or whatever, I mean, even if they don't, do the procedure, but they're going to be able to know what a prolonged period of time on anabolics will do to the body, what, whether it enlarged this and made this bigger, or made this work faster, or made this work worse, that kind of stuff. I really want to be able to pay that forward to the next round. That's just something I want to do.
That's amazing, because it is such an emotionally charged topic that people have these such strong opinions one way or the other. And it's like, we need to be able to meet in the middle and have a real conversation, have like real objective information about what the fuck is going on. And I think the scientific world is so delayed in their response to this stuff. But the athletic world is so gung-ho and willing to just fucking throw their bodies into this fucking fire that it's like, I wish we could meet across the table and have a conversation. And I know people like Andy Triana is a fucking stud when it comes to this stuff. And like Andrew Huberman is like doing podcasts on this stuff and like just trying to put out some good information. But I just feel like it's a world that people don't, they hear you're a power lifter, you do steroids. Ah, fuck. Like, here we go. Like, here's this gorilla that doesn't know anything. Meanwhile, you have been so systematic with what you've done, how you've done it, the things you've changed. You've controlled variables. You've done your own scientific experiments on yourself, right? And it's like, that's so important for, like you had said, the next generation of people to understand, is like even just how to go about this process. So fucking hats off to you, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's just like something that, you know, just another way for me to push it forward to the next round of idiots like me.
So speaking of, no, you go.
Again, like I was kind of on that topic too. I hate how taboo it is to talk about steroids. Like, you know, there's some guys that'll be like me, they'll tell you exactly, or there's some guys that'll be like, oh yeah, I'm doing all this stuff, and they're totally lying. Or there's guys that are like, oh yeah, I don't take much. You know, it's just a little bit, like, it's just okay. Like, if you were honest about it, I'd take you a little more seriously. And like, there's other guys that's like, oh no, I'm natty. I'm like, either you can tell me, or I can watch you for 5 minutes and tell you. You know, like, I'm not dumb.
Yeah. It's like, dude, your traps touch your fucking ears. Like, let's be real, bud. Like,
exactly.
And you also weigh 198, and you have fucking 4% body fat all year round. So let's have that conversation.
Another good show is if you look at guys, their hair goes from their eyebrow to their forehead, like back to their regular head. That's a good sign, because that's like your androgen receptor pushes hair follicles through that area where they're not normally. So I look at somebody's forehead and be like, "Yeah, you got some good tests, bud."
So yeah, and it is funny, because like I always refer back to when people are talking about steroids, that they just assume it's bad. They just go, steroids bad. And it's like, yo, man, like we don't even know the level of depth that steroids at various levels could do to help heal people. It could help bridge the gap between where they, like, just very big real world issues that just because they have this stigma where it goes like, this is bad, you shouldn't do this. And it's like, what the fuck, man? Man, when I tell you, like, my first foray into steroids was when like Mark McGuire and Sammy Sosa, like the home run race. And as a kid, I even had the opinion of being like, why doesn't everybody else do this shit? They're hitting fucking nukes. Like, this would be the most entertaining fucking sport on the planet. This should be fucking wide open. They have the best doctors in the world. Stick them. Let's see what happens.
Everybody wants to see it. Everybody wants to see it, whether they'll admit it or not. Everybody wants to see it.
Yeah, and again, right? Like, we're not going out and saying like everybody should do it all the time, regardless, right? It's like we're talking about intelligent choices done by adults with quality information, with medical sort of history, understanding what's going on. But for fuck's sake, like, for people to think that steroids don't happen in professional sports. Holy shit.
Outrageous.
It's totally outrageous. No shit.
Exactly.
Granted, there are freaks, but at the same time, it's like, if you're getting paid millions of dollars a year, and the difference between you getting paid another $10 million for the next 2 years is you sticking a needle in your ass, you know you're going to be sticking a needle in your ass.
Yeah, I hope it's a 27 gauge. Sign me up. Let's go. I just think about like Tom Brady. He spends $2 million on a year on his nutritionist, and
it's not the fucking water and stretchy bands. I'll tell you that.
No, definitely not his hot yoga that's making that guy still run up and down the field. I promise you that. Yeah.
Fuck no, man.
100%.
And it's funny because like people forget is like when he was with the Pats and he fucking tore his hand up, and it was just like all of a sudden it was like 3 days later it was like totally healed. We're like,
Good to go. Weird.
maybe I should cut the sugar and get a vibrating foam roller. I think that's what that's what it is, man. Yeah, and it's funny because like I kind of want to pivot this back into how you're kind of impacting the next generation, especially with your coaching. Is you have put yourself in these situations of making these decisions that you, looking back now, you're like, hey, maybe that wasn't a good move. And I think that's so important from a coaching perspective to have at least lived those situations. So when the conversations come up, you're able to talk to them from not only the scientific education, but also the experiential education that you've been able to develop, right?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I can remember like even in high school, like football, my coaches were like, you could tell Dan all day long, but if he doesn't do it by himself and learn what the proper way, then he's not going to learn. I've been like that my entire life. Like John Cruther's like, well, if you're going to be dumb, you got to be tough. So it's just one of those type of things. But yeah, it was like that for me in high school. I was never really smart, but if I could do it with my hands, that's why that's one of the reasons I went to tech school. I could pass flying colors all through the shop, but the minute it got taking that test, brain dead almost. And it's like that with anything in life. It's just like if you don't know or have any guidance, let's run into it with a full head of steam, but know where the things could go bad. And if they go bad, you learned. If they go great, you learned. Just keep pushing forward. I've always been that type, but I've learned a lot by trial and error with my own experiences. And I think that's helped me get as far as I have been, and not just in powerlifting, but in life in general too.
And how do you kind of connect with your clients? If somebody wants to work with you, like what sort of process do you have to kind of understand them and how to help and educate them going forward?
Oh yeah, there's like I hate to be that guy, but we do have kind of a screening process to where I don't want to jump on somebody's radar and grab a newbie and give him 12 weeks of great programming, and then he's like, oh, I just hit a 100-pound PR and a 300-pound PR in my total, blah blah blah. Like, I didn't do that. It's because you are new to the sport, and that's how it goes. Now, you got a 300-pound PR in your total. Next meet, you might have a 5-pound PR. This is the way it's going to go. Your process, your body's learning how to adapt to the weight right now. But yeah, through my experiences, I've been able to help a lot with the coaching. But I am coaching seasoned athletes that are very well in tune with their body and what's working. Through my peaking program and through my off-season training, I've just learned how to build the base and then how to expand it to where we're peaked. And this is like peaking. I've peaked so many times the week after me, it hurts me to think about it. Like, I've done it. It's always like if I'm doing a meet and wraps, the very next weekend I'm hitting a PR in sleeves just because I know my body's so peaked right now. But being able to fine tune myself and finding the little ways to keep it directional to where it peaks perfectly have been something that I've been able to help, and I see it in other people too. Like normally with my program, we'll go up 2% every week, every other week on it. But if I see something's wrong, I'll cut it to 1%. Joe Jordan, his best squat, we were down in Fort Lauderdale. I think it's like 1019. And I'm like, Joe, you just took your second 1003. It was absolutely horrendous, but it looked like you had a little more in you. Where was your goal? He said 1036. I'm like, cut it in half and take that squat. And he did, and that's his best squat ever. Like, if you aren't able to recognize that and notice that, hey, maybe I do need to cut it in half and take what I can get and move the fuck on. I mean, it's just how it goes. But being able to take that to the training remotely it's been tricky, to say the least. But you got to have clients that want to help you coach them. And there's one girl that I'm coaching now, Emily. She's a coach too, and she's I don't say popular, but she's been a successful powerlifting coach in her girl community that she's coached quite a bit. And I love coaching. She's so easy. She's bullheaded as hell, but she knows she's learning how to auto regulate herself, and she's not overtraining, and like she was prior. And it's been a great process. So coaching coaches is fun, but those newbies is not so entertaining just because they got this idea, they got that idea, they're seeing this guy do that. It's just like, come on, you're paying me for a reason. Like, stick to the plan. Do what I tell you. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. and that's now. Have you had interest and have you done seminars in the past? Because I mean, you'd think for you would probably be even a better fit and a better suit because you are such an in-person person. It sounds crazy to say that, but like. Obviously, remote coaching does have its hiccups, you could say. It's kind of difficulties. But have you ever thought about doing anything like that?
Oh, of course. Yeah, definitely. Ed and I've talked about it. Ray and I have talked about it. There's been a couple of people that have kind of reached out to me and wondering if I would do it as far as gyms and whatnot and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm definitely something I'm going to be interested in doing in the future, but while I'm still competitive and while I'm still, working my 60 hours a week job, I kind of like to stay in my own lane. Now, winter, if I do say, I've been saying I was going to retire for the last 2 years. It just every time I say it, the next cycle comes around. And I'm like, okay, let's go. But I do know that I don't want to say my end is near, but my 1,000 pounds and 900 pounds or the end for those are near, just with the longevity that I want out of my body. And, being 400 pounds isn't horrible, but I think being 355 would be cool for a minute, or even maybe down to 300 and like doing that kind of stuff. And I can't keep the strength that I have right now at those body weights. So while I have this strength, while I'm this comfortable at it, I'm going to run as fast and as hard as I can.
Hammer on.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah, and this is just a side note. I'll mention this to you when we're off air, but I have some fucking really cool ideas for you that I think would be like game changing in terms of it when you get to that point. If you present the information in a certain way, people fucking, I'm all about it. So that was just like a side note. I just wanted to throw that out at you. But yeah, I mean, it's so amazing to be able to have conversations with high-end athletes like yourself, but also it's like the information that you have for coaches, for guys and girls that are just training. And it's like you can get so much out of these conversations. So first and foremost, I truly appreciate you coming out and jumping on. I know this is the fucking second day. It's like running a seminar in itself, right? But because the fucking internet sucks. Hate that shit. But no, like I said, Dan, I truly appreciate you jumping on. I think what we'll do here is we'll kind of wrap it up. So if you have any sort of things you want to shout out, I mean, your next plans, you're competing in September for sure. So everybody will be on the lookout for that. Where can people find you? Where can people, like, if they're interested in working with you coaching wise, where can they connect with you there?
Oh yeah, that's awesome. Appreciate that, Sam. It's been great. And after yesterday, I did kind of took a couple layers off and noticed some of your other podcasts. And I really do appreciate what you're doing for the community. Yeah, I'm sure you're having a great time doing it, talking to a lot of upper level guys, me, Ed, and all those other people that you've talked to, but like being able for you to use your platform to spread the knowledge, like I want you to know I can speak for the community. Thank you. It's good to see good people doing good things. For sure.
I appreciate that quite a bit. But to be totally blunt with you, man, like this is the conversation that we would have in person. And that's why I call my podcast In Between Sets, man. Like this is the shit that we would talk about. We were fucking training together. Right?
Exactly.
Like so
no,
yeah.
100%. Yeah. I don't know if you've noticed, but I don't want to say internet well. Of course, I got my link tree. I got everything up there set up. My wife did all that for me. She posts half the stuff that I post because she knows how I don't like the internet at all. I don't even have a Facebook, but anybody that hears this, they'll know where to find me. DBell _74 on Instagram. I do coach through Smart Strength Official. Tom Callis and Jacob Ross both own that. And it's a great program they're doing for coaches and for athletes. They're so well-rounded. It's been such a blessing. Like, they got a little coaches group, and we all bounce ideas back and forth. I'll be like, Yeah, I'll be like, hey, Jacob, I got this client that's doing this. And he's like, oh, do this, do this, do this. Here you go, Dan. I'm like, you make my life so easy.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's good having those people. You know, they look forward to the next step in the future for the sport and all strength sports. So it's good to be around and surrounded with those guys. And then, yeah, my sponsors are on my Instagram. Everybody knows. So yeah.
Well, I want you to get enough space and time to shout some of them out, because I know how important that is. Like, just to add in the community, to have a company that understands the benefit to having awesome people connected to them. I know this Strength Co, right? You work with them, right? For the I actually met them at the Arnold this past year when I was talking to the Massonomics guys. They were right across the way. Awesome.
Yeah,
dudes.
Grant's such a good dude, man, and that's something like a lot of people don't see in the powerlifting glamorous influencer world. You know, I've been sponsored by quite a few different companies, but the ones that I stick with and the ones that I run with and support fully, I have to have Nick and I from Live Large. We have a great relationship. The guy stayed at my house. I've stayed at his house. We have a genuine friendship behind the sponsorship. Grant, you know, I never really did that before, but with Grant, I was like, man, I love what your company's doing. You guys make great products. You guys have a great morals, and I want to support you so much. Can I just please be part of Strength Co? And like, he's like, wow, I never would have imagined you saying that to me. And I'm like, dude, I love your message and you're American made. That's something that I love and I can support.
That's so cool to see.
Yeah, exactly. My supplement sponsor, Never Been Stronger. Kid went to high school 45 minutes away from my hometown. I met him on a whim in the middle of Peoria, and he gave me his company's their morals. There's no bullshit. There's no fillers. He's going to tell you exactly how it is. He's going to tell you what's going to work and how it's going to help your body function at a top tier athletic level. And I'm like, Pat, I gotta be part of this, man. Like, this is something that I want to stand behind. I want other people to see. So I've been with them. Oh shit, it's been going on 5 years now. And with Live Large, I went straight from JB Boss to them because Nick and I have been friends for 10 years. Nick, he asked me then. And I'm like, hey man, I'm a JB Boss. Love these guys. They're doing me really well. And the minute JB Boss called it quits after COVID, I was like, Nick, what's up? He's like, come home, daddy. So,
Come on in.
Yeah. And, you know, you see so many people running from one company to another. It's just, like, disgusting. And there's a lot of guys that I talk to. It's like, we laugh about it and joke. It's like sucking dick for free T-shirt. You know, it's just like, man, come on. Have some morals. Stand behind the product that you're presenting to the world, because the next round of people deserve that. You know, they deserve to support a company that stands for something and wants the community to grow. You see Live Large at all kinds of meets around Ohio. They just want to give back to the community so much. They put on their own meets. They do in the Pioneers the same exact way. I was just like that with Matt, man. I'm just like, Matt, I love what you're doing. I love how much you're giving back to the sport. I've done the Pioneer Open twice, and I'm going back again next year. It's just like, man, anything I can do to support you and make your platform bigger. His platform's bigger than mine now, but anything else I can do to help, I will. I support what you're doing. The guy's giving jobs to half of his community just so his community can thrive. If you've ever been to Coleman, Texas, it's a little tiny hole in the wall 3.5 hours away from Dallas. Like, it's nothing special, but the guy loves his town. And I'm like, I get that, because I'm the same way about my hometown. Like, so if you stand behind a company that you believe in moral wise and the way they handle their stuff, you know, it's easy for you to shout from the rooftops to who you enjoy and who you prefer.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's those relationships that I think are the most meaningful part of that is, right. Like, yes, their products are fantastic, but the people that stand behind them and are amazingly high quality people that give a shit. Again, it comes back to giving a shit, man. Like, full circle. It's like, 100%. Do they give a shit or they not? And if they do, they'll keep doing the right thing and keep doing it in a way that helps support more people and gets them the high quality products and the education and the services and everything that they need to be their best. And at the end of the day, again, you are an amazing shepherd of the sport. speak well. You really give a shit about the people around you, your training partners, the next generation of lifters. You respect the history of the sport. It's fucking cool to see. So again, thank you very much for jumping on with me. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'll put all that information down below for everybody that's listening to this fucking thing. But other than that, I'm going to stop the recording now. So fucking, and now the real party starts. So, here we go. Let's try to get this. Da, da, da. 1 sec. Get that. Cool, man. Fuck yeah.
Awesome.
Dude, I'm glad that you enjoyed. I'm glad we had fun. And